Greetings all. Well, I know we have some other folks here besides those that are appearing on your screen. And here comes Robert. And Andrew, you win the award for today because you were the person who logged in that confirmed that I was not talking to myself on this Zoom meeting because you were from outside the court. And so, if I could hand you an award, I would, wherever you are. Hello, Robert.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chief Justice.
How are you today?
Oh, doing pretty good. I think we have a new group of students who got to watch the YouTubes, and I received a couple of questions. So we're excited. Appreciate you meeting with us again.
Well, we have. I can see a few students that are here in addition to yourself, and then you can see the 3 judges are here and a couple of the court staff, and then there's a couple of the court staff that are on without their cameras. So we've got a small crowd here, and all looks well. So, judges, before we go, before we start, is there anything that you all would like to say to the students? Because remember, we are live on YouTube. This is being recorded, and it will be available for the students and the public at any time. So, Rex, anything to say for the good of the order?
Thank you, Chief. No speeches today. Appreciate it.
John, how about you?
No, I'm good to go.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and knock the timer off because we don't need the timer for this, and it slows me down on letting folks in. Here comes Tracy and Sarah. They is Sarah the president and Tracy the vice president or something of the LASSO?
Sarah is the president, and Tracy is a board member. Tracy, is it secretary or treasurer? Wasn't it? Was it treasurer? Is that right?
Secretary. I'm secretary. I get to.
All right. Well, Robert, the floor is yours for questions, or and we'll try to answer, or any of the students that want to. I've got my chat feature where I can see if someone sends in a written question. I'll be able to see it on the chat feature. So please feel free to do that. Or Robert, take the lead.
Well, Mr. Chief Justice, I did receive a couple of questions via email. One of them, since the paralegal program is the host, so to speak, of this Q&A along with the court, this is a paralegal related question. For those of us that are studying to be paralegals, how can we do the best job possible for a smooth working relationship and and making sure that everything works well with your court. What would be any advice on best practices for paralegals and working with your court?
John, you look studious on this. John came to us with a lot of trial court experience, as well as being a judge of a trial court. But then Rex also worked with a lot of students, primarily law students, but he also worked in private practice longer. So I'm going to let John start first, and then Rex follow up with from the practitioner's perspective, bringing it over into the court. John, go ahead.
Well, Robert, I would probably tell prospective paralegals the same thing I would tell newly licensed attorneys, and that is to develop relationships with clerks, coordinators, those folks who do the day-to-day operations of the court that can answer almost every question they might have. Develop those relationships, because that'll come in handy when advising the lawyer that you work for, the judge you work for, that I've talked with the clerk of the court and here's what they're telling me. I told that to my son, he's not newly licensed anymore, he's been licensed for 8 years, but I told him, you know, the coordinators and the clerks will be your best friends for information gathering. And if you get yourself in a jam, they're the ones that can help you get out of that situation, because they know what's going on probably more than anybody else in the courts do. Rex?
There's two things that I would ask the paralegal folks to do. One is to be as technologically sophisticated as you can be, because that's the world in which you live. And as also part of that, we are still in the generational gap until all of us who are baby boomers die off, and we're gradually doing so. Many of us are not technologically sophisticated and struggle at times with what we need to have available in the way of those skills. If you're in the private sector, it is absolutely critical that you be technologically sound, even more so because you can win or lose a case based on technology these days. The other thing is, and I would say this is probably even harder, I think the paralegals, particularly those of you who are graduating out of school, need to work very hard to try to understand, though at times it is difficult, the older generation, who is actually the people who employ you, and what they see and what they do in culture, in politics, in finances, and all of those different things may be substantially different from what you've either learned from your families, or if you didn't have much of that, what you've had to pick up while you've been in school. So as the employee paralegals, you need to be very sensitive to what your employer's needs are in those areas as well.
I would mention that the last 3 people that we have hired to work as deputy clerks, now that I stop and think about it, it may go back. Yeah, the last 3, they've all had training and or including certification as paralegals in our clerk's office. I'm trying to remember if any of the current ones are certified as the paralegals, but they all worked in a firm where they were using that paralegal type training that they had received before they went to work for a law firm. They have acted as not just a paralegal, but as the office manager frequently of small to medium-sized law firms. They do everything from literally everything from answering the phone to doing the discovery documents, preparation and organizing of the discovery. So it is a broad background that we see, and that helps them get a job here if that's what they want to do ultimately. So does that address your question, Robert?
I think so. I think so. And it got me, and it has a lot of information for me too. I think that is helpful. I wanted to, if anyone else has, I have a couple of more that came in through email, but if anyone here live has a question, feel free to ask. The floor is open to you if you have a question for the Chief Justice or the justices.
I have a question to ask. Justice talked about technology. As that's kind of like pertaining to creating documents, presentations, knowing how to work computers, stuff like that. That's what you're talking about, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm also saying that so much of what's in the private sector, in the civil side, particularly in the discovery process of documentation, yields a tremendous amount of computer-related information. And the more that you have the skills to help your lawyer or lawyers edit that information in a proper fashion for presentation to the other side of the case as well as to the court, the better off you are.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Go ahead.
And Tracy, I'd like to follow up on that because Rex makes an excellent point with regard to that. It's not just about knowing how to do things that you need to in what I would characterize as the daily practice of law, document preparation, transfer of documents and stuff. The world that I am seeing after I left private practice 22 years ago is that the fights in the civil side discovery is how do you help your client go into their document retention system and retrieve responsive information in a litigation? Or maybe even more important, how do you assist the attorney that you work for and the client go into the opposition's computer system and information to retrieve information that you need to try that case successfully? Makes a world of difference in being able to understand what it means when you delete a file versus when you destroy a file on a hard drive. But just deleting it, we all know it's still there. The technology of Facebook, and I know that's old technology now, but all of the new technologies, whatever they are, wherever they go, the ability to recover that information, whether it's text messages or something else, we see very few cases now that do not have some element of technology in it, whether it's a Ring doorbell video, a text that has been recovered, a Facebook post, and all of that has to be tied back to someone who can authenticate it and talk about it and knows what it is and its origin. So Rex is right on point. I hadn't even thought about that aspect of what the paralegal can do for the attorney and the profession, but understanding that technology, Rex is exactly right. I suspect that he, like I, feels a little bit vulnerable in that area. Maybe we all feel a whole lot vulnerable in that technology area because we all know so little about it. And it is intimidating when you turn to your 12-year-old grandchild and ask for technical support, and he says, "Oh," and he hits a few keys and something works. Yeah. It can be very disconcerting.
I understand that. So if I'm able to go into somebody's hard drive and pull off everything that got deleted, and know how to pull it back so you can actually read what the document actually said, that would be a good thing for somebody's office.
Absolutely.
Well, I got this then. I can do
Well,
that.
and as of Tracy, as of December 31st, I'm going back into the cold, cruel world, and part of my time may be spent in my new career beyond this retirement, perhaps working of counsel on the civil side for law firms, and one or more firms, but probably just one. And besides being petrified by that thought, I do think the sensitivity to that is going to be paramount for me and for the lawyers that are above 60 years of age, like I alluded to a while ago.
Well, if you ever need any help with that, just let me know. I can pretty much dig up any kind of information you need out of any hard drive.
Tracy, I'll be looking to find you.
Okay, I'm here.
And see, that goes back to it. That goes back to John's deal about creating relationships. So
we got this.
Everybody saw that happen in real time right there. So
that works. If you ever get stuck on computers, I've been hacking away at these things since 1992, and that's one of those things. I taught my kids how to build computers, so we got this inside out.
I'm glad to hear that. Best of luck to you. I suspect you'll be very successful.
Thank you.
Well, does anyone else have any questions from the floor? Or you can either, as the Chief Justice mentioned, you can chat them in the chat column, or you can ask them. Floor is open.
Sarah, where's our little man today?
Well, he kept trying to be on here and he just wanted to chat, so I had to send him out. That is why I had my thing on, not showing the video, because he was, and the dog was loud too, so I had to make them go. It's hard to focus when they're there, and I'm very excited about when there's a vaccine, man, those kids are back in school.
Good for you.
It is for them though that we do what we do. So it's always good to see them in around and see the bonding that's going on in real time. So
it truly is. I am grateful for the opportunity that this year has brought, not just, with school. I feel like I've been able, this spring, it was a hard spring, yeah. Definitely. But I just, everyone is trying to do things more online now. That's actually a question that I have as far as, I understand that right now a lot of things are being done online. We're doing that through YouTube and, we're using Zoom. Is this what you see going on from here on out? Is everything going to just be a lot more virtual, or do you feel like for right now, and then it's going to transition back?
Okay, I'll take that first and then let John and Rex chime in. I'm a member of the Supreme Court Rules Advisory Committee, and what that committee does, it's a committee of 50 jurists from across the state, both private practitioners, appellate specialists, academicians, judges, broad spectrum of the legal community. And we advise the Texas Supreme Court regarding the adoption and I guess you'd say recommended form of rules. And so that meeting, that committee met on Friday, and the Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court has ever since I've been on the committee, been the liaison between the court and that group. And he always gets a little bit of opportunity to chat right at the beginning, kind of introduce the subject for the day. And one of the things that he said is that last year in Texas, the year before COVID, that we tried about, I think he said 5,000 to 6,000 cases, and I don't remember the exact number, but to a jury verdict in the state of Texas, and that about 60% of those were in Class C misdemeanor cases, meaning tried to municipal judges and or to JPs. And basically we're talking about traffic level offenses. Now you think about that, that there's that many, and that has been the one area where we have already been successful in holding entirely virtual jury trials. That means that the jurors are at home or at some location where they have technology. The attorneys are somewhere likewise. The parties are likewise. The witnesses are, and the judge are. None of those people are in the same room. When you think about the cost of moving those, say 3,000, 4,000 cases, from trying to get all those people to physically come together in a room at one time versus the ability to take a patrolman who stopped that car and have him sit in his squad car but be a witness in a trial while he's on duty. Yes, the tremendous amount of savings that we have realized as a result of being forced to use this platform will make it where we resist going backwards to the physical room technology, their methodology. Now, the kinds of cases that we typically see are not the Class C misdemeanor jury trial cases. You all saw arguments in some of those cases. Just as an example, I'm going to pick on the BSR case, not for any reason other than y'all saw that that's an interim proceeding. The discovery in that case is deep. It is complex. It involves experts. There will be a lot of witnesses if that case is ultimately tried. And what I'm trying to say is that that kind of case, I doubt that it will ever move to an entirely virtual platform. One, it's too long. The ability of a jury to stay focused on a Zoom trial of that length would almost be impossible. They say that about 3 hours is really a juror's limit on the ability to concentrate. But at the same time, the shorter trials, medium trials, I can see some criminal cases going to the virtual platform. I mean, because especially in the short term, we haven't seen that so much yet. Actually, Brazos County is one of the counties that's kind of leading the charge on getting back into that. And Rex may have more insight on that than I, but I mean, trying to do voir dire with a juror in a face mask or a face covering of any type, they've gone to face shields so that they can see the juror's reaction because of the need to see the body language. But the number of hearings that are being conducted via Zoom is astronomical. I forget the numbers that the chief gave us, but it was in the tens of thousands of hearings that have already been conducted on Zoom. And I'd kind of like John's input on this as a trial judge, whether or not he thinks we're going to lose a step in doing that, but the ability to quickly have a hearing rather than spend, so much time getting one scheduled and set up. I can see this as being a real motivator, I guess you would say, of driving down the cost of litigation in the developmental stage, because you can quickly get trial court input into issues. So I think that being forced into the technology, we are going to be somewhat reluctant to give it up. John, what do you think as a trial judge?
I agree with most of what you said. I think uncontested hearings, non-evidentiary hearings, non-evidentiary hearings are motion for summary judgment, for example, where there's no testimony taken, there's no witnesses presented. It's basically attorneys arguing to the judge their position. Uncontested hearings, meaning I did a lot of family law on the bench, meaning husband and wife have reached an agreement with regards to the division of their property and custody and things like that of their children. Most of the trial courts, even if mom and dad or husband and wife do reach an agreement, most trial courts require one party or the other to come into court and provide testimony as to jurisdiction, the terms of their agreement, and so forth. To me, there's no reason at all not to do that by Zoom. There's no reason at all not to have contested, not evidentiary hearings by Zoom. When I was on the bench, I was in Cleburne, north of here. Johnson County joins Tarrant County. So we had a lot of Tarrant County lawyers come down for family law, and a lot of Dallas County attorneys come down for family law. And now that Zoom is in place, like Chief says, now that it's in place, it just doesn't make sense to go backwards and say, okay, my attorney's going to charge me $300 an hour to come from Dallas just to do a simple prove up divorce and then go back. 3 hours of work, $1,000, when you can do it literally in 5 minutes on Zoom. It just really doesn't make sense to me to go back. I see a lot more problems and difficulty with contested evidentiary hearings in trials and things like that. But a lot of what trial judges do, it just doesn't get the publicity of the jury trial. But a lot of what we do are non-evidentiary contested hearings and agreed prove-ups of different types. And I think those lend themselves perfectly to Zoom hearings.
Good question, Sarah. Thank you for it.
I'll respond to it if you like.
Yes, please.
Okay. Sarah, this morning, the stock market went up in preliminary numbers at a one-day high, higher than it had been in many years. The reason given for why it did so is Pfizer and its companion, I think, out of Germany, have announced that their trials have proven 90% successful in the vaccine. The stock market took that as a signal of success. Now, there's all kinds of distribution problems that have not even been solved. And almost all of the stocks in preliminary numbers, as I saw very early this morning, were going up, except notably a few. One of them was Zoom, and it was going down. Now, what's that got to do with anything? Well, it could be a signal that some people think so-called normalcy is just over the horizon. One fool's opinion, I don't think so. I think distribution and all of those other things for the vaccine and how you're going to get it, which layers of people get it first, all of that. It's months, if not a year away, if it's that good. The point being, what I think my colleagues are telling you, that it's a dichotomy. What we found out is that Zoom is a very efficient way and a less expensive way to handle a number of preliminary questions, both civil and to some extent criminal. Don't let me forget to give you 2 judges' names in Brazos County to contact about how you try to get approval for a live criminal jury trial right now. One of them for sure successfully did it, and I think the other one did too. And they're great people. So let me give you names. Don't let me forget.
Yes.
That said, because it is such a problem, first of all, lockdown is actually constitutionally a state decision. We have, Tom will tell you if it's even more than that, but besides his very important rules committee, so there's other standing committees that have input. But Sarah, right now, for directives, for extensions, for a lot of things, it takes at least, and Tom will tell me how many I'm missing, And well, he should, so you'll have all of it. Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court, the Office of Court Administration, the Governor of the state of Texas, and a scattered group of administrative judges around the state that have all the different geographic areas of the state, the 254 counties carved up. It takes approval by those three people and that, well, those four people, if you take an administrative judge as a representative, for you to do anything that's basically trying to start a new live jury trial, anything of that nature, or try to just get outside of the virtual situation. And what does it do to the timeline on trying to get things done? Okay. So is this going to be with us for a while? You betcha. Now, politics aside, we're not going there. But the lockdown question has been in front of us already. What's going to happen going into the new year? Regardless of who's who and who's what, like I said, it's usually a state court decision unless the federal government says, we want you to lock down for this period of time. And if you don't, the federal tax dollars available to you to help balance your budget are not going to be available. That's a practical fact of life. So believe me, that's still a very up in the air question also. The two judges that have pulled this off so far, one for sure, is Judge Steve Smith of the 361st District Court in Brazos County. Very nice fella. But here's what happened to him. Since he's tried his first case, and since it may be coming here, because that's our county, Judge Smith got in the middle of that criminal jury trial, and one of the parties came down with COVID. They had to recess that trial, wait till the person got well, check all the jurors, check the bailiff, court reporters, everybody, by the way, the judge, and wait till that person, as it turned out, it was just that person, believe it or not. Everybody else was negative, as I understand it, was well, and then go forward with that live case. They had gone through all four of those steps I just mentioned to you, or those four personages, to get approval. And they'd gotten approval. Okay. Judge, and I have a call here to talk to him, Judge, about something else. Judge Kyle Hawthorne is also a district judge of the 85th District Court in Brazos County, and was attempting to go forward and try one or more criminal cases and was set up to do so. I just don't know if he did it or not. Another fine fellow to talk to, Sarah. So you and Robert, or however y'all want to do it, they're in your backyard. Great folks to talk to give you perspective about. It's great to try to do this and be live in the merits, the trials on the merits. It's still very difficult to do, and may be for some time to come.
The one thing that helped them do that is that you also have to have the local administrative judge's approval. That happens to be Steve, right, Rex?
I believe that's right, Tom.
And
I think that's right, yeah.
And so you've got to have the trial judge's approval, obviously. You've got to have the local administrative judge's approval. That approval comes about as having the county judge and the local health official, usually the chair or head of the either the
county health unit.
Yeah, whatever they have, the health department, whether it's municipal or county. So you've got four other people on the local level, four people on the basically state level, four people local that have to approve this whole jury process. So we've had a handful of actual jury trials in the state since March.
And if y'all decide to contact folks, he's gotten all the rest of them save one, and that is, in addition to your administrative judge, Judge Smith for Brazos County, there is anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 counties that are under a regional administrative judge. The one for y'all is a very fine fellow named Olin Underwood, who is down in the Woodlands.
Yeah.
Yeah. he's home based in the Woodlands. He too would be very receptive if you want to talk to him, Robert. Sarah.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
I took notes. I probably didn't get everything, but
It's all
you know,
recorded on YouTube. Play it back.
After the 31st of December, you can still talk to me. I'll be around. Because one of my other aspirations is to do some visiting judge work. So some of those people, I would have to get their blessing to do that. So I'll be happy to talk to you.
thank you.
You bet.
Robert, what else you got?
Well, those are most of the questions in some of the questions that I had on the list were answered, I think, in that last one. So I don't have any more questions from email. So does anyone, I know we have, several students on this call. Do you have any, feel free to ask any questions that you have. Anyone have any questions for the justices?
I don't hear any, Robert. What can we do to help you and help Blinn?
Well, you've done so much for us by having court available. We distributed the YouTube links, the recordings to a whole lot of people, not only in the paralegal program but in many other departments at Blinn. So we think that this information got, as well as the case summaries, got to a number of people. We also have really benefited from the electronic briefs that are available on your website. That has been a great teaching tool, a great way to kind of learn how the arguments work. So we definitely appreciate that. And like I said, just being available to talk with us and give us information. We just really appreciate all you do to help us with education, legal education at Blinn. And like I said, we really appreciate it, as everybody from Dr. Hensley, my dean, Brandon Franke, my assistant dean, Shonda Whetstone, our vice chancellors, Jay Anderson and Marcelo Busicki. Everyone at Blinn is always very, very excited about your holding arguments with us and helping with legal education. Well,
we certainly enjoy the opportunity, and the trips that are usually at the highlight of our spring and fall, coming to Blinn in the fall as we have historically. It's always been a lot of fun. There's always some stress involved. The stress is different when we're doing it by Zoom or technology, because there's always the risk of failure. But the thing that I hope that you're able to do with this year's events as they develop is you do have the written briefs, but more important than that, you've got the recorded argument sessions that we've never had before. If the student did not get to attend the day of, the best they could hope for is maybe listen to the auditory part. And the other thing that I probably hadn't really thought about till now is the fact that because we are doing it by Zoom and the camera is in front of them, the students who normally see nothing but the back of the head of the attorney that is making the argument, they will now get to see the attorney's face as we ask them questions. And that may be educational in and of itself. So something a little different, a little extra, that will be there for the future. And I hope that it helps. I would like to take a matter of personal privilege and mention, as Rex has a couple of times, his retirement. When I first started doing what we call the traveling argument or traveling roadshow, Rex was the chief, and we went to a number of different locations. The first that we went to after I joined the court was in Hill County, and Rex was the chief, and we were hearing a case on remand, meaning that it had already been decided and it went all the way up to the Court of Criminal Appeals. It got reversed and sent back to us. And it was a case involving a young lady who had set her boyfriend on fire in the cafeteria of the Hillsborough High School. And we had a packed house that day. It was kind of noisy at first, but you could have heard a pin drop when they realized what case Rex had scheduled for oral argument that day. And it was a good case. It was a good case to argue because it was educational. But I'm going to miss Rex in the development of these trips like this. Rex, you've been a colleague and a mentor to get this going. I know that occasionally y'all would do it before, but I think it really started regularly under Rex's direction, and then it kind of grew after that. And the tradition of the Blinn and the SHSU has been Sam Houston State, it's been a great one. And we have gotten great support from Blinn all these years. Mary Hensley has been very supportive, and we very much appreciate that support of what little effort we can contribute to make this a better experience for the students. So
thank you, Chief. Robert, Sarah, it was not loosely stated. We're all here for resource for you guys. Justice Neal, I will speak for my successor, who is a good personal friend, Judge Matt Johnson. Some of you have met him already, perhaps at other functions, because he's been very visible in Brazos. And if he hasn't, y'all take care of him like you've taken care of the rest of us. Matt's coming by, in fact, tomorrow to make sure I'm hurrying up and moving out so he can move in. And I predict, and John and the chief will make a great team, and you'll be seeing them next year. Matt's going to be very supportive of that, of the efforts that the chief makes to keep us out there in front of the public and the students. So don't worry about that. Matt's going to be right there for you. Okay?
John, anything before we sign off?
No, thank you very much, though. I appreciate all of y'all's support and attention and great questions.
Thank you so much.
All right, Robert, unless something else, I'll close down the Zoom link and close off the YouTube. All right, y'all have a great day. We will see y'all at the latest this time next year. All right, look forward to seeing you before then. Take care.